Hello, pursuers. Welcome to another episode of the Pursuit of Happiness podcast. This is your lovely podcast host, Naz Kazimi. And if you're new here, welcome to the Pursuit of Happiness podcast. Listen, it's never just really about the shows. It's about everything else and the show. We talk about real life. We talk about mindset. We talk about everything. And I just throw in some reality TV because I love it. Who doesn't? Now, today's episode is going to be a Dear Naz episode. I do answer questions, pursuer questions that have been DM'd to me and privately messaged, emailed, find me on my private socials and they message me that way. But it's got a bit of a twist. Now, I guess because I'm out there a little bit more, I am getting a lot more Bravo questions. And I'm kind of excited to do that. So I think I'm just going to keep it sort of Bravo focused today. Might throw in a couple questions that are not Bravo related to start off with, but it is kind of Bravo heavy now, I guess, because just the listeners have increased. So I just want to say thank you again for everyone that has. Please remember to like, subscribe, share my podcast wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It really helps me out. I really appreciate you guys being here with us. Let's get started. Okay, here's a really good one. How do you handle people who mistake confidence for arrogance? I don't give a shit about those people because that's the decision that they want to make of me right off the bat. And if I give off that I'm arrogant rather than confident right off the bat, I think that that's not a me thing. That's a them thing. I think that I give off confidence. If people mistake that as arrogance, that's because they're intimidated by the confidence. So then they have to twist it somehow to make it fit their narrative so that they can kind of put a reason to why they're so intimidated by my behavior. But arrogance is when you're rude and you have, and you're trying to make people feel little. Confidence is when you know what you want. And I think that people can, there's two things that can happen in scenarios like this. People can automatically tell right off the bat that you're confident, or the energy is just a bit triggering for them because it's a projection. Like they don't have that, or they want that, or it's something that they've never been around. So it intimidates them. But arrogance, you can tell when someone is arrogant. And sometimes I do get it when I walk into a room and I just don't talk to anybody and people think that I'm being arrogant or, oh, she's perhaps too confident, but it's also because I'm shy. So if it's the first impression, then let them think that. But trust me when I say this, eventually over time, every single person who has gotten to know me, their perspective completely changes and they're like, okay, she's just confident. She's not arrogant. And there's some things that I'm confident in or more confident in. There's some things that I'm less confident in. And people will eventually see that if they get to know you better. But if it's just a one-off or you're just meeting them for the first time and that's their impression, let them, as Mel Robbins would say, just let them think that. Who cares? That's not a you issue. That's a them issue. If they didn't take an extra 5 seconds after their initial impression of you to get to know you, because let's say I'm kind of intimidated by someone and I'm like, whoa, that person thinks they're so cocky. I will gravitate towards that person just to get to know them better. But I also in my head know that it's triggering something inside of me and I want to figure it out. So if I talk to them more, I might be able to humanize them and be like, okay, this person's actually so chill. This person's just, walked in, frazzled, like didn't know what to do. And it appears as if, over a little bit they're overstimulated. Now it appears as if they're a bit more arrogant, But that was all me thinking that. That was me making up a story about them in my head to rationalize their behavior. And that's not up to me, and I'm trying to be less judgy of stuff like that, but it happens. We're human. So if it's a first impression, let them. Don't stop being confident. That's the number one thing. Let's not make this about the other person. Now make it about you. Don't stop being who you are. The people that are meant to be around you and are, going to make big moves will eventually figure out who you are, and that will all go away. All that judging or judgment or um how they're trying to analyze you will go away. And sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. Not everyone needs to like you or to think that you're confident when to them it's arrogant. Who cares? Then they're really the ones, again, projecting, and they need to really look inside. They're the ones that have a lot of work to do. And I hate being around people that have a lot of work to do. I love to help people that are willing to take it. Like this whole podcast, this mindset lifestyle that I'm pursuing, and the happiness that I'm pursuing. And I just want to share my story so that I can help people. But if there's someone stuck there that's just wanting to hate and think of the worst in me, then I'm not the person for you to help you. And I can't do anything about that. I'm just going to continue to be me. Right? So hopefully that helps. Is closure real, or do we have to create it ourselves? Unfortunately, I feel like in some cases you're going to have to create it yourselves, because you're not going to get the closure that you want. Just like you're never going to get the answer that you always want. Now let's make this about Housewives a little bit, because these are great examples that I can relate back to what we watch. For example, the whole situation with Rosie and Kelsey. And I loved what with Rosie said the other day on the episode. She's like, listen, if you don't like the answer that I'm giving you, it doesn't make it untrue just because you don't like it, right? We're not always going to get the closure that we want. Maybe for the other person, they've given their closure. And you never know why other people do things that they do, because we're not in them. We can always speculate. Again, we can always create stories in our heads about why that person did what they did. Or sometimes they do give a reason and you still don't believe them. You're like, that person's a freaking liar. And that's an us thing. That's not a them thing. So when it comes to closure, let's take the power back and make it about us. It doesn't have to be about them. Okay, and ghosting is one of the biggest things that I hear about when I hear about closure, and it's happened. Who hasn't been ghosted? It's happened to me. I had to get to a point where I'm like, that's what they needed to step away. And if it was too much for them to have to try to explain themselves, then that's all the closure that I need to understand what type of person they are. And I'm really glad that it happened the way that it did, and I found out the way that it did. It might have hurt a bit, it might have stung a bit, absolutely. But now it's done. And that's the closure that I needed. That aha moment, that epiphany, or I don't know what people call it, the moment of realization. But it hurts. Who says that not getting closure initially in the way that we want it hurts? Sometimes you want a position at work and that position gets taken by somebody else. And it hurts, but you move on from it, Something else comes along, or something doesn't come along, but that initial sting hurts. You make plans, and then the plans have to be canceled for whatever reason. And that initial hurts. That initial shock right after hurts. You're like, oh, I was really looking forward to that. That sucks that it got canceled. But life goes on and something else comes around. So just like anything else in life, it's going to sting for a bit. And especially when it comes to relationships, because we can't control how other people react, act, think, feel, speak. And that's just life. It's just part of understanding. And as the faster you give the power back to yourself when it comes to the closure, the more freeing it is. And look, I've also ghosted people, and I just, when things like that happen, I would go back into feeling why I would do that. And it kind of helps me, because we always try to want to rationalize it. I think it's just having our conscience and our brains as a human species, we always try to figure things out. And especially me, I'm the ADHD one. So everything that I do, I try to figure out why. Like, that's why I'm in tech. I have to understand where it comes from, like the root of it. And this is why I am the way that I am. And I want to kind of share my life. And, I want to just help people that are similar or that kind of need reasoning. Um, but sometimes, even when I think about the times that I've done it myself, I have no answer. I just did. I think it was just easier than speaking to that person. Or maybe I'm a people pleaser and I thought that I was hurting their feelings if I actually gave them the reason, and ghosting would be easier. Like now I know that no, it's probably worse. But when I put myself in those shoes again, I realize, okay, um, everyone has their way of kind of dealing with tough situations, and it's not a me issue, it's a them issue. Because when I had ghosted somebody, it wasn't them, it was me. It was like I was afraid of telling them the truth. I was the one that was afraid of hurting their feelings, you know? I was afraid of maybe getting hooked back in. It's all things that, and see, it came mostly out of fear. So when I look back at those type of reasonings, I'm like, okay, I think, um, I think it makes more sense, right? So closure is something that we have to take the power back and close it up ourselves. Don't allow other people to do that for you, because you will be stuck forever trying to close things out, and you might never get the closure that you actually want from that other person. Um, this is a good one. I'll answer this one. When should you forgive someone versus just walking away permanently? Good question. I think it all depends on the individual. What have they done to you? How forgiving are you? Are you going to keep bringing this up all the time? I think every situation has a gauge. And if someone, listen, again, everything I do and say, I never try to blame other people, ever. I'm at a point in my life. And so for people that want to find blame in other people rather than take accountability, I might not be the person for you, because I'm all about reflecting inward rather than looking outward. So listen, there's degrees of cutoff. Okay. And it's just how much you're willing to tolerate. And that is totally your prerogative. And you are allowed to say yes or no. And one thing that I want to just preface is, do not allow someone to gaslight you to be like, it wasn't that bad. Come on. Why can't we be friends again? Because you are allowed to not talk to anybody ever again. Don't ghost, because we know that sucks. No, I'm just joking. You're allowed to walk away permanently from anything that you feel does not fit your energy, does not align with your purpose, does not make you feel good. You're allowed to unfollow accounts on social media. You are allowed to stop talking to somebody that you feel is constantly draining your energy or never taking your side or supporting you, at least. You know, it doesn't have to always be like taking sides, or just supportive. You are absolutely allowed to do whatever you want, but be reasonable is what I'll say. I feel like if you can't let go of what they have done to you and you're unable to move past it, and every time you look at them, you think about it, maybe that is a clue that eventually you need to walk away permanently. Because it's also not fair to that other person. Because look, think of kids. If you're a mother or a father, or you have children around you, or even pets, they make mistakes. And we have to be able to forgive them and move on. And there are some pet parents, and unfortunately even some human parents, that will abandon their pets or their kids because they're unable to deal with it. Whether they're unable to forgive, or they're unable to parent, or they're unable to teach boundaries and how they should be treated by their pet, their kids, you know, because it's all something that you learn. As adults, we can't teach other people. We can't change our jobs. We can petition for things. We can have conversations. And if after these conversations, you still have this weird feeling, this weird pit in your stomach, and every time you look at somebody, for example, I had friends that, and I've talked about this many times before, I've had friends that I introduced together and they completely started ditching me out of situations. And I had to take a couple steps back from both of those friendships. I was more closer to the guy because we had worked together. I was his boss at, well, not boss, we were kind of like managers together, but I was the general manager of the place that I worked at. And he was kind of like our tech guy. And there was no, absolutely no, he wasn't my type, nothing, but we're into the same stuff. Like I'm very like into like Comic-Con and like cosplay and, and he was similar and we like to go out to eat and my daughter loved it too. So we would always go out, not just necessarily always us two alone, but we had other people that would come with us, but we did develop a great friendship. I love meeting people that are, and I'm into tech as well. Like that's my major in college. So it's really nice to meet people that are like that. And I find where I'm from and the way that I look, it's very far and few in between. Plus, he worked in a gym and I am a gym person and I was the general manager of the gym. So that's how we kind of became friends from work. I introduced him to one of my friends that I just met. And literally the first day that they met, they made plans to go somewhere and they did not invite me. And later the reasoning was, oh, we didn't think that you'd be interested in stuff like that. And it's true. I'm a little bit more picky about what I like and what I don't like. And I'm much more like, I'd rather say no than just to go do something because I'm going to be around people. Like I'm okay being alone and not going to things that I don't want to because I'm very picky about the type of music that I listen to, the environments that I'm in, what I'm watching. I just can't be forced to do something I don't want to do. Not at this age, and I'm way too independent that way. Hyper independent, you could even say. But, and this is getting a little bit deep, but who says that I'm not deep? I've also struggled with being left out a lot in my life. I wasn't really pretty in high school. It was made fun of. If you're listening to any of my podcasts recently, I've come up with a lot of things with me and my mom, especially because it relates to what I'm watching on Rhode Island, the Real Housewives of Rhode Island. Everything goes back to Housewives. Isn't that weird? So I have this big thing around feeling left out. So let me circle back to the point here because I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but it all will tie in together. So for me, it's tough to not feel included, especially when I introduce them together. Like, I get it. I might not like it, but people love being invited to things. Like, why can't I just be invited and me have the ability to say no rather than they're like, oh, she probably won't like it. We just won't invite her to this one. Why do they make that decision for me? Why can't I make that decision for myself? Because maybe one day I'll change my mind. I'll be like, sure, yeah, I would love to do that. I haven't gone out in a while and it'd be nice. Do you get what I'm saying? So they took that ability away from me. And I think that also triggered me a lot because it ties back to a lot of things that I've had since childhood about feeling left out. And these are supposed to be two of my best friends that I finally introduced because I'm thinking, great, we're all going to do things together. And if not, at least if I don't go, they'll go. But then they completely even excluded me out of the asking. So how does this tie in with when should you forgive someone versus just walk away permanently? I can't help but look at them all the time and think about this shit that they've done without me. Is it jealousy? No, because my life is 10 times better than theirs. I travel. These are the type of people, and I know you guys are like, oh, so you think that you're better than them because I travel? No. I know that my life is better because I created a life for myself. And if they think their life is better, then great. But they're the type of people that are very okay with the kind of life that they live. Like they don't want anything more. They're just happy with the income that they have and they're content. And I'm always like bigger and better. Like I want more and more and more. And like, why would I spend all my money going to comedy shows that I don't necessarily like the comedian when I could put that money aside and go traveling with my daughter? I moved away for 6 months and I just moved back. You know what I mean? So, and during that time that we had moved away, we traveled too. You know, it's not like we just went to that one spot. We stayed there. We actually came back home for a little bit. We traveled within where we were in Mexico. So, and on top of that, I'm a mom. So I can't help but look at them and be like, ugh, like it's easy for me to walk away from this because they're not providing anything for me. They don't even include me in things, you know? And the girl will never invite me to something that both of them are going to, but he will invite me to stuff that both of them are like, but then he won't invite me out alone. And I'm just like, what we would like, so see how I'm reeling right now from this? That's when I knew that I'm never going to get past this. Because it's always going to be at the back of my mind that they left me out and they excluded me. They were supposed to be my friends and they're supposed to know me the best and they're supposed to know everything that I've gone through. And I've taken a step back. From the guy, I don't really speak to him at all anymore, at all. Even when I moved to Mexico, I didn't call him to say goodbye. I had called him once prior to that and he sold me out. He's like, I'm actually really tired. Well, you knew that I'm moving in a month. So if you don't want to go out, cool. And with her, I just keep a little bit of a distance. It's just, I want to be around people that give me energy, not constantly drain my energy. And they're not energy draining. Like we have great conversations when we are all together, but I'm also going back to school and they don't want to go to school. She also has ADD and she's just the type of person that she doesn't want to get a job. She's happy with the income that she has off of her whatever. She lives in a small little studio apartment in downtown and she's happy with that. She constantly saying that she wants bigger and better, but there's no action. And then he is in a job that he's constantly complaining about, but he doesn't want to leave it because he says that he doesn't know where he's going to be able to find another job that'll pay him that much. And he's not even getting paid that much. He lives in a basement suite. I'm like, don't you guys want to buy homes and travel and go move away for a little bit? And they don't. They don't have that desire. So maybe I've just outgrown them a little bit. Because I'm the type, and they always say this to me too. They're like, you're constantly doing things like, you're way more better socially and you can make friends anywhere. And yeah, I can. Like, are they people that I want to keep in my life all the time? No, but if you stick me somewhere, I will absolutely know how to speak. And that's something that I'm very proud of. But do I always want to speak? No. Am I shy initially? Absolutely. I have to kind of like test it out, sense the room. And I always listen to my physiological cues. Like if I'm feeling kind of weird, if there's butterflies in my stomach, I always listen to how I'm feeling and why I'm feeling that way. I'm very in tune with myself. But absolutely I can make friends anywhere and I'm not fucking awkward. Unless it's a really good looking guy, then I act like I'm like a nonverbal autistic person, and he would probably be turned off and be like, what the heck? I don't know. That's when I really, really think someone's attractive, I act so like I'm like a disabled person. It's so weird. But anyways, I'm okay with speaking. That's one thing I'm very happy about myself. I can talk. I can express, and I love that about me. And if I can make other friendships and people that will actually respect like my feelings and like what I've told them, because we've had many conversations with these people and they still continue to do the same thing. I'm like, I feel left out. I would like to be included still. So I'm just taking a step back. With the guy, I've completely walked away permanently. And with the other friend, I've just taken a couple steps back because I cannot help, but I don't think I can forgive them. And not only that, we've had plenty of conversations after this and they still continue to do the same thing. And like, I'm just over it. And I don't want to keep feeling this way, feeling hurt, feeling angry every time I think about them. I don't want to. So instead, I have to distance myself. And so when should you forgive versus when should you just walk away permanently? I think you should forgive when you're able to just not talk about that issue anymore. You've actually forgiven. You don't have to forget, but you can forgive. And when do you walk away permanently? When you're unable to forgive. And if you're going to constantly bring it up, and when you look at them, you're just constantly thinking of all the shit they've done to you, that's when you walk away. Because that's what I did. And it's actually really good because it ties into this next question that I saw. And it's kind of going to piggyback off of this last question that I answered. And it's, I feel like I've outgrown everyone around me. And is that selfish? Absolutely not. It's never selfish. Always think about yourself first, everyone else second. And I know that sounds like a very selfish thing to do, but if you're not thinking about yourself first, you're not going to be able to feed into everyone else because you're lacking. And it makes a lot more sense about the analogy on the plane, like you give yourself the air first before you can give anybody else air, because if you're trying to help other people around you and then you don't get air, you're going to eventually die and now you're unable to help no one. So I mean, don't run red lights because like you're like, well no, like I've outgrown everyone, I know how to drive, I'm going to no, like still follow the rules and the law, okay, without breaking the rules and the law. If you feel like you've outgrown people around you, is that selfish? Absolutely not. Sometimes we're just on different paths. And truer words couldn't have been spoken when they say that people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Okay? The reasons might be the ones that show you that you've outgrown them and it's time to move on. The seasons might be the ones that help you outgrow. and then it's time to move on. And the lifetimes will be there as you outgrow everyone and you go through different seasons, but they'll still be there supportive of you, helping you. After you've had these long conversations saying that you've been left out your entire life, they're still the ones that will invite you to everything. And I'm speaking more about my situation here, but that's okay. These people were my friends. It taught me a lot about myself. I've learned to communicate a lot better with friends that I really want to keep around. I've learned that it's okay to walk away from people that I don't. I've realized that I'm a go-getter and I need go-getters around me. And I've also realized that I don't want to do things that I don't want to do, but I also don't want to be stuck in rooms where I'm either the most talkative or the loudest or the most fit or, with the best job. I want to be at the bottom of the totem pole in the rooms that I walk in because I want to learn from people. And I can't help but say thank you to these two friends, quote unquote, that I had that taught me that it's okay being me and I love being me. And I feel like being me is like the best because I've learned so much about myself and I'm so self-reflecting and more inward looking. And I've learned that I don't make things about other people anymore. I make it about me. And sometimes people be like, well, you don't think about anybody else. Well, I'm 42 years old. When is the time that I stop thinking about everybody else and putting their needs first and start thinking about me? I get shit on at home because my parents say, oh, it's too late now. You're going back to school at 42. You should have done this 10 years ago, blah, blah, blah. You're thinking about everything else. But then when it serves them, I have to think about everybody else and stop thinking about myself. No, I'm secure, confident, know exactly what I want at this stage of my life. I'm going back to school. I'm finishing off my degree. I know exactly what I want to do next, where I want to go next, what I'm part of next. And people are going to either come with me or not, but along the way, I'm going to meet the right people. And that I'm for sure confident in. I'm already starting to see the fruits of that labor. So is it okay for me to outgrow the other people? Absolutely. If they're not motivated, if they're still in the same job that they've been for the past 10 years, but they always complain, if they don't listen to the conversations that we have when I've told them, listen, guys, I feel left out and you guys are my friends, please start inviting me and let me be the one that say no, and they still constantly not do that, not listen to my wishes, then I have outgrown them and it's not selfish. It's for my own self and making myself feel good. I'm going to walk away from it. So, just always be in tune. Just realize how people make you feel. And I think that it's a tough realization. It takes a while to get to these points where you're confident enough to do these things because we always want people by our side. And I might be a little bit on the opposite side of the spectrum in this, or the gauge where I'm like more hyper independent. And you have people that are hyper dependent. I can go to a show by myself and watch a show and I'll be okay. But some other people can't. If I want to go to a concert and no one's coming with me to that concert, I'm going to that concert by myself. I don't give a hoot because that's who I am. But these two friends that we're kind of circling back to, they're the same. Like, they cannot go do things alone. They have to have somebody else. So they will literally go to any and every show just so they can say that they went and just to kind of do things because that's all they do. And that's okay. Because that's not me. And it's okay to outgrow people that I thought once were for me and have taught me a little bit more about myself. And it's completely fine because I've learned that that's life. It's happened to me since childhood. I'm not the type of person that have had friends since childhood and a big group of girls. I've had a couple of friends since elementary school, but we don't always hang out. We're not a big crew. I'm constantly growing and evolving. And I've outgrown so many people throughout my whole life where I've seen some girls from high school and they're still all good friends. And I'm sure I'm not saying that they don't evolve and grow, but sometimes you run into some of them, they have the same attitudes, you're like, thought we all, have moved past this. But that's it. I'm over it. I'm moving on. So I've outgrown you. I've reflected inward. This is not serving me anymore. And I'm going to go do my own thing now. Have a great life. I don't have ill will. And if we find each other on our paths crossing in the future, then hey, we'll look at it back then, But for now, I'm done. Let's get into some Bravo questions. I love that my Bravo questions are like deep. I guess it's just kind of like the way that I answer questions. Let's start off with Beverly Hills, and it's kind of like piggybacking off the fact that it just ended with the reunion. Did the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills lose its magic this season, or are the women just too aware of the cameras now? Hmm. I think for some of them, they are aware of the cameras. Let's say Sutton and Kyle, they know the cameras are right there. I mean, all the ladies do. Um, I think for another set of them, they have no idea that the cameras are there, like Amanda Francis. But I did end up loving her. I think that what happened with Beverly Hills is like you have a bunch of the women that are going through really, really tough times. And it came to surface that they're not all really that good of friends. Like we thought that Kyle and Dorit were such good friends for so long until a couple years ago when their friendship started to when let's be honest, when Morgan Wade came into the friendship and Dorit kind of felt slided or sided by Kyle, and ever since then it's kind of gone downhill. And then now that Dorit's going through her thing and Kyle's not there, and Kyle has said things like we were never friends, we never really hung out outside of filming. I think that now that we're learning the truth with stuff like that, it's hard because if they're not really friends and one of them is going through a tough time, let's look at Erica, for example. Who's there for Erica? And I know Dorit has been there for Erica, and I know Dorit has been there for Kyle. I do like Dorit, but I remember even Dorit was asking her questions on TV when the whole thing was happening with Tom. And now that Dorit is going through her thing, and Kyle has stated that they're not really that good of friends outside of filming, and she's burned the bridges with Erica and she has nobody there, everyone's kind of, it's turning into like New Jersey where everyone's kind of like on their own individual journey and there's no really like a coming together. There's no glue that's holding them together. So it's not that it's too dark, it's just kind of like boring because it's the same things over and over again because they can only go off of what is already spoken about because other people want to hide stuff or not mention stuff or, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I feel like now that I'm in the space of being like a content creator and, doing a podcast and reflecting a lot on Housewives, I realized that Beverly Hills is like the popular kids in school. Like everyone loves, like you could post Beverly Hills on any channel, any network, any blogger, social media account, and people will gravitate towards Beverly Hills. It's crazy. So I think they have a lot more pressure and weight to carry on their shoulders than a lot of the other franchises. Uh, but yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to observe, and um I don't think it lost its magic. It was a bit more boring, but I think some of the ladies are withholding stuff. They're not. I mean, Kyle didn't really have much to say this season. Her issue was with Dorit the whole time. And I'm not blaming her. I'm just saying I'm observing what I'm seeing. That's what it was, you know. And I don't think it has maybe being too aware of the cameras, except for Sutton and Kyle, because there's certain things they don't want to bring. I think it's just that there's not much friendship going on. So without friendship, it's what conflict because they feel like they have to make a show. So, and maybe in that sense, they're where the cameras. So it becomes a little bit more played out or performative. All I know is something needs to change in Beverly Hills. Someone needs to take a break. They need to bring in some new cast, not just one person per season, but a couple. Kind of like how they did to Atlanta. And let's just see. Let's just see. Okay, this is a good one. Was Lisa Rinna actually the villain, or did she just understand reality TV better than anyone else? I think Lisa Rinna just understood it. I mean, she was on TV for so long. She knows what to bring. She doesn't mind. I mean, some of the things that she did do, though, was so below the belt. Like, on her own friends, you know? So I can see that if you're her good friend, such as a Garcelle or a Denise, like, how it would be hard to trust her outside of the show. But then again, how good of friends were they? Because she didn't do that to Eileen. So, but I think Lisa Rinna understood the assignment. And to be honest, when both the Lisas left, when LVP originally first left, and then when Rinna left, it changed the dynamic and the trajectory of Beverly Hills in general. Like, it's just the way that they bring things to the table has changed and how they speak to each other has changed. And so much has just changed on the show. The dynamic has changed. And I think we all, as viewers, can see that. And I'm kind of feeling bad for it. Again, Beverly Hills is like the popular kid at school, so everyone will watch it. And I think that with that comes a lot of pressure. Um, so maybe the expectations are just higher for Beverly Hills, but it hasn't just been hitting lately. So yet to see how that's going to play out. But yeah, Lisa Rinna was the villain, and she also understood reality TV better than anybody else on that cast because she always brought it. Those episodes were entertaining. Even with the whole Kathy and at Kimosabi and the Sprinter van situation, and they all went clubbing, and the words that were exchanged because her Michael Jackson song didn't play even up until that point. It was so, I mean, too bad we didn't see it, but she still brought it up until that point, and it's sad that she decided to leave. Here's another good one. Let's move on to Jersey. Is the Real Housewives of New Jersey beyond saving at this point? I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. So the next question, I'm going to tie these two questions together. Team Teresa Giudice or Team Melissa Gorga, and why are people so emotionally invested? So I've watched Jersey from the beginning, and I've always been Team Teresa. Not because I don't like Melissa, but because I've watched Teresa first. I grew up with a lot of Italians, where I grew up in Burnaby, British Columbia, and in that time, the 90s to the early 2000s to when I graduated high school and a little bit beyond, it was all Italians. So I grew up with Italians. Teresa just reminds me a little bit of my mom and a little bit of just all the Italians that I grew up with, their parents, their households. You have to be blind to not understand that when Melissa came on, things changed a lot for Teresa. It became much more about her family, whereas the first two kind of seasons were more centered around the Manzos and their family. I'm not saying Melissa did that. I'm just saying you'd be dumb to not think that changed the dynamic, because it's right. Even my daughter watches it and she's like, I'm not going to watch after season 3 because I don't like when Melissa came on and they were yelling at Teresa. And that's because, and I didn't really tell her much about it. I was just like, let's just watch it from the beginning because she's at an age now where she's like, I want to watch Jersey from the beginning. I'm like, really? Okay, cool. We watched season 1, we watched season 2. We saw Melissa in some of the episodes. She was in the background. And then the first episodes of season 3, she's like, I don't want to watch anymore. Why are they being mean to Teresa? Because she doesn't understand the in-between because she's never watched it. She's watched Beyond when they were constantly fighting. And then she watched the first 2 seasons where Teresa was on, and then Melissa comes on. So this is from a very innocent point of view. I'm not saying my daughter's completely right or my daughter knows what's going on. No, I'm just saying, like, she saw and she understood. Now, I keep trying to convince her, I'm like, trust me, watch a few more seasons. Teresa and Melissa become friends. It's the best. I'm so happy that they're friends again. But for someone like her, she's like, no, because they were so mean to her. Why were they mean to her? Like, Teresa was on the show first, blah, blah, blah. Like many people say. So at this point, I'm not either Team Teresa or Team Melissa. I'm Team Family. Like, let's get this show back on the road. It was one of my favorite franchises. But people are so emotionally invested because if you're like me and you watched it from the beginning, you're going to have some emotions in it. You're going to feel bad. My daughter watched it from the beginning. She's emotionally invested. I even saw that Melissa's daughter was watching it and she was emotionally invested and I know part of it is because it's her family. I get it. But watching it as a viewer, even Melissa came on and said that her daughter watches it. And when she heard that some of the Manzos were at the restaurant that they were eating at, she's like, I need to meet them because she's watching it as a viewer. It sucks to watch that family go through what they had gone through. It sucks to know that Margaret was at Teresa's wedding, but Joe and Melissa weren't. We're invested because it's family and it's so relatable. And not everyone has explosive families like this, but people have family dynamics that are interesting. And when we're able to watch it in other people, we realize that, okay, this is a normal thing. And it hurts more when it comes from family as opposed to friends. We're not as bothered by Dorit and Kyle or Dorit and Erica not being friends. But we were more bothered by Teresa and Melissa not being sister-in-laws and on good terms because they're family. And we see who it affects, the kids, Joe. We saw that. We saw how it affected her parents when she wasn't talking to her brother, Teresa, right? When Teresa wasn't talking to her brother. It's all relatable to some level, and that's why people are so emotionally invested. Now, back to the question before that, is it beyond saving at this point? I mean, Rhode Island is Italian. Rhode Island is giving. And Rhode Island is just It has Dolores. So we have a little piece of Jersey on Rhode Island. So I think they have big shoes to fill. They haven't been on for a while, but I don't think anyone could ever replace Teresa or Melissa. And I just hope that they come together in a dynamic that can override everything else that is going to come their way, and we see them kind of thrive. It was it was fun to see, and I cannot wait to see how this reboot goes, because I know they have much more newer characters and how everyone's kind of intertwined. Um, Now I see another question here. It says, "Is Louis Rellis the biggest red flag Bravo has ever filmed?" I don't know. One thing I can say is I do love Teresa. I'm not too sure about Louis still. The only good thing is I really haven't seen Louis on our screens, or just because he's not, I don't follow him, not part of any sort of algorithm that I follow. If Teresa pops up on my algorithm, then I will see maybe some things about Louis, but not a lot. But there's just something I feel weird. Like, first of all, I didn't like the fact that he was trying to hit on Alexia before he hit on Teresa. That's a huge red flag in itself. But I'm unsure. We didn't get to see him enough. When we did see him, he had kind of jumped into our screens during a time of conflict, and people were either Team Teresa or Team Melissa. So it was hard to gauge kind of where he sat. Um, I think it's nice that he's got Teresa's back, but again, knowing that he tried to hit on Alexia before, it's like, what is his real intention, you know? Um, he gets a little bit too, he's a bit too emotional, I find. He gets a little bit too invested. And for someone that's only, and at that time that we saw on TV, was with his wife for what, a year, 2 years? It was a bit so, like, I would see Joe Judice being more like emotional like that because he's known Teresa longer. He's known the family longer. So it was a little bit tough for me to watch him get so emotional on TV. It looked like he kind of just liked the attention on being on TV. The whole Bo Dietl thing kind of still makes no sense to me to this day. Like, why throw names out there when you know you're being recorded, when you know you're on TV? It's definitely left a bad taste in Margaret's mouth because she says that she'll never be friends with Louis. She's dead set on the fact that Louis called her son's work and all this stuff, but I'm not too sure, guys. All I know is I did not like him too much. I don't like him definitely as much as I like Teresa. I even like Joe Gorga more than I like Louis. Um, but we have yet to see. Hopefully, these new seasons can expose us to to the new and improved dynamic and a strong dynamic. But I feel like, again, it has big shoes to fill because Rhode Island had huge, like, it's doing so well, but Rhode Island is a bit messy. And I don't know if Teresa and Melissa will get to a place where they'll have to be like they'll be messy like that with other people. Do they even know these other girls enough to get messy like that and honest? One thing I know about Teresa, she's laid out her life on TV, and Melissa, maybe Melissa just doesn't have as much like crazy things happening in her life. Like, her life is a lot more stable, would be a good word to use. But like, you get down and dirty in Rhode Island, and do they know these women well enough to kind of have secrets like that come out, or are people going to just protect themselves and know that the cameras are there and try to protect what they say because they don't want things coming out? I mean, if it doesn't do well, we have Rhode Island, which is kind of what we've been missing. And I think a lot of the Jersey fans are going to head over to Rhode Island and not even bother with Jersey because they are either Team Melissa or Team Teresa. So we shall see. I'm hoping that it does good. I'm hoping. It's one of my favorite franchises with Orange County, because I've watched Orange County from the beginning. I've been a Housewives watcher from the beginning. I've not missed a season. I've not missed an episode. And if I had at that time, I would go back and figure out a way to watch it or record it. Back then, we would record it on our TVs. I'm not too sure if you guys still have that. I stream everything now. But yeah, we shall see. Okay, we shall see. Okay. So is Danielle Staub chaotic evil or reality TV genius? I think a little bit of both. I think she's a bit delusional, and I think she's a bit of a hypocrite for sure. Danielle Staub would say, you know what, Joe Joe Judice, don't say, don't use homophobic slurs. My friends, are gay, but then she brings her little friend Danny, that's like the little supposed gangster that just got out of jail. He's like, my daughter's taller than him. Okay, seriously, my daughter is tall. Her dad's 6'4", and my daughter's taller than that guy. And then he's the one that's calling like, Chris Manzo, the little one, Junior, at the banquet hall at the Brownstone, because they had that event going on, calling him a name, bag, all these kind of things. Like, so it's okay when it's defending you. Like, she was just such a hypocrite. Every person that she was friends with, she ended up becoming enemies with, it's just so funny when you watch her, because does she realize that she's like a walking contradiction? Like, everything that she says, she goes and does herself, and it's going to be okay when she does it, but not okay when anyone else does it. It's not okay for Dina to try to have a conversation with her, to try to be like, look, we're ending things. But then she turns around, she's like, no, you're not allowed to say that to me, but I'm going to tell you that things are, but it's okay when she turns around and says things. She was reality TV gold, of course. I kind of felt bad for her. Like the first season, towards the end of the first season, I felt kind of bad for her. Then once it got to the end and then season 2 started, I'm like, I don't feel bad for her anymore. This woman knows exactly what she's doing. But where you can feel bad for her is she's not part of the family, so she's not going to have the backup. And a lot of things were brought to light from her past, and I don't think that she was able to kind of like hold her own. She was she was just too in shock that things were surfacing, that she just didn't want to even provide the truth. She would just keep telling people to go read the book. It's like, why don't you just talk? Just make it a show right now. Like, just have a conversation about what was in the book. But she certainly gave us a run for our money back then, let's just say, because we would watch that, and me and my daughter were like, oh, Danielle again, when she gets into a fight with Jacqueline's daughter Ashley. Oh my god, that was just the funniest. And she was in the car saying that she was assaulted because her extensions were pulled out, and you know what, like, yeah, I guess it was, but me and my daughter were just dying laughing when when she pulled her hair, and she just was so dramatic about it. And of course, I mean, that stuff would not fly if you watched it today. Like, it would not fly. But it sure was entertaining. And my 12-year-old, almost 13-year-old, absolutely loves season 1 and 2. Like, we watch it over and over again. It's just amazing. So let's do a couple more questions, and then we will save all the rest for next. Wow, we got so many good Bravo questions. I'm so happy, you guys. Thank you, pursuers, for sending all this in. Okay. Is Tamara Judge necessary evil or just exhausting television? Oh, I love Tamara Judge. I love me some Tamara Judge. She is necessary evil. She's necessary. Every show has to have a Tamara Judge. One thing that I do love about Tamara is that she like hits the points when they need to be hit. You know that game where you play them at like little kids arcade kind of places, like a Chuck E. Cheese, where like the head bops up and you can hit the head. Like the head, like her things pop up right at the right time, and you boom, she nails it on the head. Like not only is she the head that's popping up at the right time, and then boom, it gets nailed at the right time. Like she's got the flow. The one thing I don't like about Tamara is how she always brings it up that it's a show. Because now it's making us feel like it's a little bit performative. And I do listen to her podcast. I love 2Ts. I love Teddy. I've always liked Teddy from the beginning. I don't know why she got the hate that she did. She's also one of those characters that's, a bit polarizing, controversial. She creates good engagement for all these shows. And I just think that sometimes when they're recapping some of the shows and they just keep referring to, well, production made us do it and this and that, and it's like they're not taking the accountability, and that's fine. We love a fourth wall broken. Okay, we love a nice fourth wall that's broken, But at the same time, we still want to think that it's still by choice that these things are happening and not by force or not by someone in your ear telling you to. So sometimes when they speak too much about that, it takes that power away from her. So then she doesn't become necessarily that evil, like the necessary evil. It just, then you think, oh my God, it's just so exhausting. Like, okay, we get it. We get it, you know? So if you really didn't have to do that, then why did you? Do you know what I mean? So, but I mean, I love Tamara. She's so good. I'm so glad she came back. It was definitely different when she was gone. I love Tamara. And I love me some Emily Simpson. I listen to both their podcasts. Emily's podcast is so good, you guys. Like, one thing I love about Emily, and I know this is about Tamara, but I'm just switching gears here a little bit. Emily is such a classy woman. I love her. I know she ate in the hot tub. I know, but that's show Emily. And I'm not saying there's two versions of Emily, but that's like a little bit more relaxed Emily. Like, that's her. Okay, let's follow Tamara's lead here. That's her job. That's what she has to do. But Emily on her podcast is like lawyer Emily, mom Emily. Like, she's got her notes written. Like, she does her research. Like, you know, she just lists off the points. And it's just so attractive to see a woman so doing her job correctly. And I love that Emily. And I wish that Emily was a little bit more on Housewives. But maybe what I find interesting, and I love that about her, might be a bit boring for the audience. They need a little bit more messy. But that Emily, that organized lawyer, boss bitch Emily, I freaking love her. And not to mention, she is into fitness, and I'm a bodybuilder. So I'm not saying that I'm biased towards people, but I just know the amount of work and effort it takes to get to that point. And I'm just so proud of her because I know that she's always kind of wanted to get there. So I love Orange County. Orange County is one of my favorite franchises. I've watched it from the beginning. I'm from the Joe Slate, Vicky, Gina, Lori era, and I will always love Orange County. I like Heather Dubrow too. I love her richness. I love Terry. I just think that it works. I loved Katie. And then again, you have Katie. I don't know if you've heard my other podcast, but always my favorites don't get along. Right now it's Pinky and Angela. They're my favorites. They got into it. Was it someone on the Valley? No. Or was it someone on Summer House? Anyways, now you have, Emily and Katie. They didn't get along. They were both my favorites. I'm like, come on. Like, but they're just so much alike. Like, you know, I love the people that are a lot similar. And, of course, similar people will always kind of find a way to butt heads initially. And then eventually they figure it out. So I'm hoping for that moment. This is actually another question going into Orange County. Was bringing back Heather Dubrow genius or desperate? I thought it was genius. I love Heather too. These housewife shows initially were about rich, and obviously it's just like bodybuilding. Everything goes back to bodybuilding. Over the years, the women get richer. Vicky got richer. Tamara obviously got richer. Heather got way richer. But then for a little bit, especially with Orange County, you lost that, or it didn't become necessarily the focus, and that's fine. Because we also like relatability. So we love the rich, but we also like relatability. So if you can tie in the two, it makes sense. Whereas Beverly Hills has always kind of maintained that like rich person status. And sometimes people are like, oh no, Heather belongs on Beverly Hills. I find Heather is better suited for Orange County because she has genuine friendships with these people. Just because her income bracket is better suited for Beverly Hills, what genuine, like she was at Tamara's wedding. What genuine relationships do they have like she has on Orange County that could be replicated on Beverly Hills? It's just going to make, honestly, Beverly Hills worse because we're already pissed off that they're not as true friends as they are, or as we thought they were. So I love that Heather's back, and sometimes she just, you know, curls my whatever. I'm trying to be nice and saying it. I don't know. So let me just say it in the way that I know because I'm a millennial. She just pisses me the fuck right off. But it was genius. I think it was genius. I'm happy that she's back and she's great to follow. One last question before I wrap this up. Did Monica Garcia save the season or ruin the trust forever? She saved that season. Bring Monica back. What are they thinking? Not having Monica on the show. Come on. Bring Monica back. I don't care what anyone says. Monica is great TV. Monica is like the Tamara Judge to Orange County. Monica Garcia is like the Tamara Judge to, and Salt Lake City. She needs to be back on Salt Lake City. She is like the Joe Ellen to Rhode Island. She is like the Jennifer Aiden to Jersey. We need her back. She's like the Larsa Pippen to Miami. We need her back. And it's not because these people are messy or whatever, but it's fun to watch them. Like they can go one way or another really quick but it just keeps us on our toes. These are characters that keep us on our toes. And she's like the Janet to the Valley. And not because Janet's unliked, but because Janet can be so real that they're the characters that trigger everybody so much. These are the housewives that people get so triggered by for some reason, you know? And they might be disliked or they might be really liked, but they're just triggering characters on these shows. And you need to bring Monica back. Like there was no reason for her to have, what the hell, been left? Because what? Because that show, there was a blog made? Who cares? That show, Salt Lake City, is one of the only shows that had extra clauses put in their contracts because they are the type that go to bloggers, that leak information, all this kind of crap. And so they made their contracts stricter, and they said that if anybody violates any of the terms of these conditions, then they are automatically fired. So bring Monica back with the new and improved contract. Let's see how she does. Monica needs to be, I would rather have Monica on than Heather Gay. But what I would like more than that is to have Monica on with Heather Gay. Because she would put Heather in her place so quick. Heather thinks that she's like the force multiplier. She's not. She's terrible. I don't know why Heather's still on that show. She brings nothing to the show. Monica could do the same thing that Heather does, but also bring her personal life into the show. So Monica saved the season and she needs to get back on Housewives. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you, pursuers, for sending in all your questions. We have such good questions. A lot more Bravo questions. I'm going to try to split it up and do regular real life questions and Bravo questions. I love that we have so much more Bravo. But I love that you guys trust my opinion on these questions. We will have some recaps coming up this week. Valley and Summer House. So with that, pursuers, have a great day. Make sure that you do something today that makes you happy, because we're always on that pursuit. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, share. You can find me anywhere that you find your podcast, Apple, Spotify. It would really help me if you left a review and followed. It really helps my growth. And in the show notes, you can see everywhere that you can find me on socials. I'm on all social media platforms. Give me a follow there. We check out old clips. I post some of my podcast clips. It's just a nice community that I'm building that we can kind of have discussions about our favorite shows. With that, pursuers, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will chat with you next time.